A much maligned aspect of the prequel trilogy is its focus on Senate politics, which those without taste consider boring. Even if you find the politics of the Senate boring and convoluted, however, there's an easy takeaway from the Senate scenes of the prequels, that the Senate and the senators who served in it were hopelessly corrupt. Like real politicians, they lived lives of luxury and ignored the needs of their constituents, focusing on furthering their own power. But in the Star Wars universe, being a senator wasn't all fun and games. It was actually an incredibly dangerous job, much more so than it is in real-world countries. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at why that was the case.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Observation. Senators are not nice, Master. They are either on top of the game or yesterday's news.
The Galactic Senate was composed of over 2,000 senators and representatives, speaking for every sector in the Republic and a number of powerful independent bodies. Aside from those that represented corporate factions, these senators represented a massive number of constituents, since even relatively small sectors contained hundreds of settled worlds. In most sectors, to become a senator, one had to win over a significant portion of the population, a daunting task that required vast amounts of money. As a result, senators spent much of their time meeting with wealthy donors that could fund their campaigns. Thus, Senate corruption was born. This system all but encouraged senators to indulge in corrupt practices to keep themselves in power, and usually line their own pockets as well. Furthermore, because of how expensive winning senatorial elections could be, those who refused to partake in corrupt activities set themselves up to lose. In sectors that elected their senators, which was most of them, the system was all but designed to put the most corrupt people in the Senate chamber. Even in the sectors that chose their representatives through other means, Senate positions seemed to attract corrupt people like starships attracted Minox. Additionally, deals with highly illegal organizations were exceedingly common. In the real world, there have been plenty of politicians with ties to mob organizations and the like, but in the Galactic Senate, that sort of arrangement was far more widespread and far more dangerous. We are, after all, talking about a galaxy where the second largest legitimate state was a front for a cartel. Underworld groups in the Star Wars universe owned whole systems, had hordes of contacts the galaxy over, and had standing armies capable of planetary conquest. When they got involved in Senate politics, things could get real dangerous real fast. To give an idea of the sort of group senators were affiliated with, let's take a look at an infamous scandal that took place shortly before the Clone Wars. 22 years before the Battle of Yavin, it came to light that not one, but 4 senators, Tikes, Bufus, Ritzomas, Dandri, Ledwello, and Wuja Wojane, were deeply involved with a slaving ring. This wasn't just a case of these senators having donors that participated in unscrupulous business practices either. The 4 were indebted to the organization to the point where they had to become active participants in the slaving operation, aiding and abetting the group's operations within their home sectors. That's bad enough, but it came with even darker implications. It was easy to make enemies in the Senate, and while senators could guarantee themselves a degree of security while serving in it, anyone who lost their seat or retired early ran the risk of getting picked off by the allies of a vengeful former colleague. The best security in the galaxy struggled just to protect senators that were still in office, never mind those who left. If a former senator's enemies were involved with slavers, they were genuinely at risk of being abducted and sold at an auction in Hutt space. No wonder they fought so hard to keep their seats. The very real threats to safety that came with being a senator created quite a toxic climate in the Senate, one of constant paranoia and senators suspecting the worst of each other. The result of this was rather predictable, a whole lot of backstabbing. If there's one thing senators loved, it was stabbing each other in the back. Thanks to the underworld contacts most senators had, this was quite often literal. Many senators were extremely dedicated to screwing over their rivals as much as humanly possible, lest the same be done to them. This was surprisingly easy. In part, this was due to the power of the underworld and the corruption in Senate security, but part of it was also plain old logistics. Keeping track of 2,000 senators on a planet of trillions was no easy task, especially since these senators often dodged their own security to make secret meetings with underworld contacts, each other, or sex workers. On top of that, whenever one politician disappeared, there were always more ready to replace them. Most of the galaxy didn't even notice when senators got roughed up or even killed. HK-47 put it best.
There are a lot of politicians on Coruscant, Master. I could spend decades slaughtering them and still not make a dent.
Think back to the Clone Wars episode Pursuit of Peace for a moment. In that episode, a pair of common thugs on Coruscant were hired by Count Dooku to rough up a bunch of senators, part of a bid to ensure a military spending bill passed the Senate. These two bounty hunters were skilled enough, don't get us wrong, but they still had a shockingly easy time doing their job. They were able to get the drop on dozens of senators and beat them badly enough to send them to hospital. They nearly succeeded in assassinating both Padme Amidala and Bail Organa. In the real world, that sort of thing would be front page news. In the episode, the media apparently doesn't even care. Hell, Padme and Bail only find out about the attacks through Senate chamber gossip. Was this stuff so commonplace that security didn't even bother giving senators a heads up about it when it happened? Similarly, it was shockingly easy for senators to be killed in the Star Wars universe. In the real world, it's huge news when an elected official is assassinated. In the Star Wars universe, assassins and bounty hunters got away with strings of Senate murders, some of which went unsolved. Zam Wesell made several close attempts on the life of Senator Amidala and successfully killed Senator Jubin. Lola Pers, the aide of Senator Farr of Rhodia, was able to murder both the senator she served and Senator Medici, and was almost successful in framing another senator for the slayings. The list goes on. Senator Dio of Uter was assassinated during the Clone Wars shortly after she played a role in exposing the corruption of two of her colleagues. Senator Drokubak and Senator Mo were both killed by separatist assassins for their political views. Senator Jeremad Greyshade was killed for his support of the Financial Reform Act, which was aimed at reducing Senate corruption, and thanks to Greyshade's death, was never brought to a vote. Senator Elsa Samoro, one of Deveron's two senators, was killed by Aura Singh, who was hired by Deveron's other senator. These killings weren't isolated incidents either. They all happened between 23 BBY and 21 BBY, a space of less than 3 years. Because of how massive the Senate was and how deeply entrenched in personal politics senators got, it was remarkably easy to get away with killing a senator. Investigators trying to find culprits often ended up not with a lack of evidence, but too much evidence. Murdered senators often had hundreds of powerful enemies, all capable of ordering hits on each other. Senators had each other killed so frequently that trying to pass out who ordered what was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Scratch that, it was like trying to find one particular needle in a needle factory. Senators were in a bit of a unique situation. They were some of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, but at the same time, they were much more vulnerable than you would expect. The politics of the Galactic Senate were quite literally cutthroat, and even just doing their job could get a senator marked for death. It was a highly dangerous job. So that's our look at the dangers of being a senator in the Star Wars universe. But what do you think? Does this sort of topic interest you? Are there particular cases of Senate intrigue that you'd like to see us talk about? Let us know all that and more in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.